Town Council Member in Windsor, and on my left is Mike McGuire, City Council Member in Healdsburg. I'd like to thank you both for being here. And now let's begin with the 2-minute opening statements. Our first candidate is Debra.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum tonight. I would also like to dedicate this evening to the memory of our good friend from the League, Carol Adams. Tonight I will share my governmental and private sector experience over the past 2 decades and why I believe my life's work uniquely qualifies me for the supervisor's job. I will tell you what my priorities will be for the district. I will assure you that I am known as an independent voice that cannot be controlled or pressured by any one group, and that I am not the same old business-as-usual backroom politician. My 14 years on the Windsor Town Council, including 4 terms as mayor, my chairmanship of SMART, a 25-year career managing large, complex projects both in the governor's office and in the corporate sector, will enable me to bring all that experience and perspective together to tackle the district's problems and to make the difficult decisions we face, just as I have been doing successfully on the local and regional level for years. Tonight I will share with you how I will implement my long-term vision for a sustainable future, both economically and environmentally. This is our chance to end short-term, short-sighted, disjointed decision-making that protect a few special interests at the expense of the rest of the citizens. I am your fiscal conservative. Windsor is the only city in this county that has a surplus right now with over 55% in reserves. You can count on me to guard your taxpayer dollars. For the past 3 years, I have been actively engaged in water policy as a member of the Sonoma County Water Agency's Water Advisory Committee. I have a plan to gain representation for our agricultural interests so that water management decisions recognize the needs of all users. I have lobbied for Sonoma County's interests multiple times in Washington, D.C. The SMART train is projected to bring 18,000 new jobs to our region. I worked to successfully bring hundreds of new jobs to Windsor over the past 16 years. I will use these skills to grow Sonoma County's economy. As you can see, I have the experience to get Sonoma County working again. I look forward to tonight's discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Debra. Mr. McGuire?
Thank you very much, Ellen. We on there? There we go. Well, good evening, and I too want to thank the League of Women Voters, as well as AAUW for their coordination and incredible hard work with this evening's forum. Tell you a little bit about myself and about how we need to work together to move our county forward to face the serious challenges. I was first elected to the Healdsburg School Board at 19 years old. I was raised by a single mom and my grandma. On the school board, I focus on rebuilding our decaying schools and providing job and technical skills for the 70% of students that will not go on to a 4-year degree. I'm a small business person. I graduated from Sonoma State University while I worked my way through college. I have a master's from the University of San Francisco. I've been on the Healdsburg City Council since 2004, and I served as our city's youngest mayor in 2006. I focused on creating jobs, partnerships with small businesses, which has been extremely successful, affordable housing. We have built more affordable housing in the city of Healdsburg per capita than any other community in the county of Sonoma. Have had to make tough choices when it comes to our budget, but I'm a firm believer in fiscal accountability. I also believe in the environment. I'm the co-founder of the Clean Water Coalition of Northern Sonoma County, and I received the 2008 Upstream Award winner from Sonoma County Conservation Action. I'm a member of the Sonoma County Transportation Authority. And for the Board of Supervisors, we need to focus in on jobs. 22% of our population in the county of Sonoma is underemployed and unemployed. We need to focus on education and those students that will not go on to a 4-year degree with job and technical skills. We need to focus on our budget. At $61.2 million deficit, we're going to have to make some tough choices ahead. And we need to make the environment a priority again in Sonoma County's 4th District. I do believe that my worthy opponent, Deb Fudge, and I are very similar when it comes to environmental issues. But I think it is more than that. We, now more than ever, need to be working together to create jobs, balancing our budget, and working hard for all of you that are in this county. And I'd be honored to have your support. And again, thank you so much for sponsoring the event.
Thank you, Mike. Now we'll move to the candidates' questions for each other. As a reminder, you have 30 seconds to ask the question, 1 minute to answer, and 30 seconds for rebuttal. Debra, you will ask the first question.
Okay. Mike, you and I both say that the 4th District is ready for a change, yet you've accepted a significant amount of money from the same special interest groups that push their agenda through Paul Kelly's vote for the past 16 years. So my question is, now that you are beholden to these strong union and developer groups with bitterly opposing views, how are you going to reconcile these views and make the tough decisions to represent all the voters?
Thank you very much, and really good question. What I've greatly appreciated is that the two of us have both interviewed for vast majority of all of those organizations. And it just so happens the vast majority of those organizations were backing you in your last run are now backing our campaign. And you're absolutely right. I've also received support from the Sonoma County Alliance and the Sonoma County Farm Bureau in this race. But I think the reason being is, reason why we have support from the Farm Bureau, reason why we have support from the Alliance and local teachers, and the North Bay Labor Council, and the Santa Rosa firefighters, and the Deputy Sheriff's Association that also are Windsor police officers. It's because they know there is one candidate in this race that can bring us all together to face the serious challenges. I have a reputation in my community and this county of being able to work with all sides. And now more than ever, we need to push against what you had just said about the special interests. It isn't about special interests, it's about working together. And that is what I stand for in this race, and that is what I will bring to the County of Sonoma.
Thank you, Mike. Debra?
Okay, thank you for your answer, but you didn't answer my question, and my question was, how are you going to reconcile these views and make tough decisions to represent all the voters? Most of us that have been around the block a few times know that it's dangerous when you accept donations from strange bedfellows like that. I did ask for their endorsements as well, but I sang the same song to each one of them, and they know I'm an independent voice. And with these endorsements that you have, it looks like a different song was sung to each one of them. And I'm really concerned about how someone that had both of those opposing views as strongly as they have, how you would be able to reconcile that.
It'll be okay.
Thank you, Debra.
That was an extra response.
Hold the applause, please. Your question.
Thank you very much. Deb, in your ballot statement that is going to be going out to registered voters in the 4th District, you say that Windsor is a booming economic center, but foreclosures in Windsor are the highest in Sonoma County. Home prices are half of what they were just 6 years ago. You're dipping into reserves to be able to fund the deficit, and that your sales tax is also down. How can you say that Windsor has a booming economy and is a booming economic center in the worst recession since the Great Depression?
I say that because when you looked at Windsor and what it was before I got involved, all we were a subdivision town of just houses with no businesses. Everybody had to drive out of town to get whatever they wanted. I would say a booming economic center is a downtown with probably 85% businesses that are full right now, that are all holding on and doing really well. I would say that creating a downtown and a town green is a huge accomplishment, and it did create a booming economic center and brought hundreds of jobs to Windsor. We are dipping into we're not dipping into reserves. We have 55% in reserves. No other city has that in this county. We have cut budgets like everybody else has. We've cut $4 million of the state money that was taken away from us. However, we've done it in a really strategic manner, and the citizens of Windsor can't see what the cut in services are. They're very happy, and we are still holding our summer concerts on the green tonight. So it is, we are doing well, better than most other cities, and it's sad about the foreclosures. I'm not sure that we have the most, but I was in Cloverdale this weekend, and they had quite a few as well. So overall, we're doing very well given the economy.
Thank you, Debra. Rebuttal?
Thank you very much, Deb, and I really appreciate you sticking with those talking points, but for what it's worth, Healdsburg also has a very healthy reserve, but right now 45% of every home and condo in Windsor that is on the market is gone through foreclosure or short sale. Home values are down by 50% since 2006. Sales tax is down, and claiming that you have a booming economic center is at the very least a stretch of the truth. Fact is, right now, all our communities are struggling, and people want the truth, not spin.
Thank you, Mike. Debra, it's your question.
Okay. Whether people are for or against Saggio Hills, you were the primary negotiator on a process that spent a lot of the developer's money and also staff time and money on a project environmental impact report that did not meet the basic requirements of California planning law. Mike, how do you now justify having approved an inadequate EIR that your constituents warned you was inadequate before your final vote, and justify the court action costing your own constituents thousands of dollars in a lawsuit they had to file to correct the environmental document?
Thank you very much, Deb. I want to correct you for a second. Actually, the constituents aren't paying for the lawsuit. It's actually the developer, and that's in the development agreement that I negotiated. What I want to talk about Saggio Hills, it went through 24 months of a public process and 26 meetings. And there is no other project in this county that has received as much support for the community than Saggio Hills. So let's talk about it for a second. 60% of all water has been cut. 2/3 of the entire land is going to be open space. 150 affordable units will be built, 30% of which will be dedicated to the resort workers. There is a local hiring clause so that Healdsburg residents not only get on to the resort when it's being built and hired, but also when it is built. We have a new fire station, and we are going to more than double our park space. Now, I have to say, Saggio Hills will not have as near impact on GHGs and water as the 2,500 subdivision-style homes that you've approved in your years of office in the Windsor Town Council.
Debra?
I think the Saggio Hills is an example of trying to please everybody and ending up helping no one and costing everyone more in time and money and delays. I have 25 years of land use experience. I know California planning law, and no project of mine has ever been thrown out of court because of incomplete planning documents. I don't think we can afford any more wasted dollars on inadequate environmental documents in this county, not especially in this economy. And those houses that you're talking about, the 2,500, there were a lot built in Windsor during my term, but they were approved under the county, and they were actually, some of them were approved before, under the county and before I was elected.
Thank you, Debra.
Okay.
It's your question, Mike.
Thank you very much. Look, this county is facing the greatest employment numbers that we've had in a generation. And nothing is more important to the Board of Supervisors right now than stimulating our economy and creating jobs. I have a very detailed 6-point plan on how we can do this in this county. And it's been posted for over a week. And I'd like to talk to you about your jobs policy. And I'd like to be able to hear about how you're going to be able to get Sonoma County working again.
The SMART train, one of the reasons I'm the chair of SMART and working so hard as a volunteer to do that position is that the SMART train is estimated to bring 18,000 new jobs to the region by the time it's up and running. I've also brought hundreds of jobs to downtown Windsor. One of the things that the employers in the Bay Area have said that once we get an alternative transit system running, they will be willing to locate up here. They've always wanted an alternative transit situation so that their employees can get back and forth to San Francisco. So the other thing I would do is get the county and the cities to work together like we have with the Climate Protection Campaign and regionally, and what we've been doing internationally as well. We are regionally known and internationally known for working together, creating a climate protection plan. There's no reason we can't do that, to get our cities and counties together to actually create jobs and to create reduced planning and bureaucracy requirements so that we can attract the employers up here that we want. And with my planning background, that's exactly what I intend to do.
Thank you. And not trying to be brash, but I guess you don't have a jobs plan. So here's what we presented. And this has gone out to every voter in the 4th District. We need to stop talking about what we've done and start talking about what we're going to do for the county of Sonoma. I'm not running for the Healdsburg City Council. My opponent is not running for the Windsor Town Council. We're running for the Board of Supervisors. And so what I have released is a detailed plan about how we are going to get our economy moving again. And I encourage you to go to mikeforsupervisor.com and look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Well, now I will ask the prepared questions. As another reminder, you have 1.5 minutes to answer the questions. Okay? And this time I'm going to direct my question and ask for a response from Mike first. The Board of Supervisors, in addition to its regular responsibilities, also serves as the board for the Sonoma County Water District. and as the board for the Sonoma County Ag and Open Space District. Do you think this gives too much power to the Board of Supervisors? And if so, would you favor separating these three responsibilities? Why or why not?
Thank you very much. 60 seconds?
A minute and a half.
A minute and a half. Thank you very much. You're absolutely right that the Sonoma County Water Agency is very important. They deliver water to 600,000 customers, both in Sonoma and Marin counties. And there are tremendous issues that are facing our county when it comes to water. Dealing directly with the question, at the moment, I would like to be able to see what the new management of the Sonoma County Water Agency can do to build that trust back again when it comes to our environmental community, when it comes to our agricultural community, and working with the partnership cities. And that is what needs to be the focus of this board. As far as the Open Space District, I do think that the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors should retain that responsibility unless there is an issue that is out there that I do not know about. I think that the current structure is adequate and working. But getting further down into that question is water. We are over-allocated in this county when it comes to our rights. And the next member of the Board of Supervisors is going to have an ability to work with all sides. And as my opponent had pointed out, I have the support of folks all across the spectrum. And that is what we need right now. We don't need one group working in the conservative end and another working in the progressive end. We need leaders that have the ability to bring folks together to tackle the tough issues, including water security for our county. So you may criticize because you didn't get the endorsement, but what this is about is ensuring that the County of Sonoma has water security for the years to come.
Thank you, Mike. Debra, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I have it. Thank you.
Okay.
I am a member of the Water Advisory Committee of the Sonoma County Water Agency, and I've been a member for 3 years. And so I have direct knowledge about what works and what doesn't work with the water agency. And contrary to what my opponent stated in a questionnaire he filled out, Windsor does operate its own water district. So not only does Windsor operate our own water district, but our wastewater plant as well. I'll just straighten that out while I'm thinking about it. I have been a part of discussions within the Sonoma County Water Agency with the mayor of Santa Rosa and some other people over the last couple of years about trying to work out what a new governance structure would be for the Sonoma County Water Agency. And while nothing has been penned and put on formal paper yet, there were informal discussions actually at the North Bay Leadership Council offices. And I do believe we need a new governance structure for the water agency, and we need to have, it's apparent when you're in the meetings, when you've got the water contractors, which represent the cities in the meetings, that it's obvious that there are stakeholders not at the table. That rural residents are not represented, and ag is not represented, and there needs to be a new governance structure separate from the Board of Supervisors, I think, to be fair to all so that we're planning water needs for everybody, not just the city residents. I would leave ag and open space as it is with the Board of Supervisors. I think that that's fine. I think it's funny that my opponent keeps talking and inferring that I don't have the ability to work well with people, because that's actually what I'm famous for, is working well with people. Even people that have opposed me in the past, I get great joy when I can work with them in the present. And so I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Debra. Okay, our second prepared question, and this time Debra will answer first. At least 3 cities in Sonoma County, Sebastopol, Sonoma, and Petaluma, have passed living wage ordinances. Do you support a living wage ordinance for the County of Sonoma that would require the county contractors, and recipients of economic development assistance from the county to pay their workers a living wage and benefits?
Okay. Yes, I support living wage requirements, and in Windsor, we've been working on actually trying to get a living wage passed. Last year, we spent a lot of staff time doing all the background research that needs to be done, determining which contracts there were and who would be impacted and what the cost would be to the city. The living wage ordinance group was not ready to go forward with us last year, and so we actually have it put on hold right now, and this is sort of a dichotomy because of the economy, but I'm ready to pick it back up. I also negotiated living wage provisions for the Railroad Square development, As the chair of the Real Estate Committee of SMART, I negotiated a $200 million development in the Railroad Square part of Santa Rosa, and the reason I got to do that was because SMART owns the property. It's a little odd to be designing a mixed-use transit-oriented development in someone else's city, but since we owned the property, we started that process, and I did make sure that living wage requirements were included as part of that development.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you very much.
Same question, do you want me to repeat it?
No, thank you, Bill.
Okay.
I do support a living wage requirement at the County of Sonoma. And as a member of the Healdsburg City Council, I was proud to co-chair, along with our Mayor, Jim Wood, a community impact report that this council discussed, ultimately rejected, but we brought together an organization called Community First. And that group talked about wages and benefits. We talked about how we are going to be able to move forward to ensure that new development in this community is equitable for working families. And we also talked about how it's going to affect our public schools and how it's going to affect our healthcare institutions. And if we do not start looking above and beyond just an environmental impact report and looking at the impacts on our communities and our kids and our working families and our seniors, we are going to fail. And so when it comes to the type of development that we need to focus in on as a member of the Board of Supervisors, yes, I would support a living wage, and I'd like to go a step further. I do think that we need to move forward with a community impact report in the County of Sonoma as well.
Thank you, Mike. The third question will go for your answer first, Mike.
Yes.
What is your position on keeping the central landfill on Meacham Road open versus sending trash outside the county? Please explain how you think your preference, landfill or shipping out of the county, could be accomplished.
Thank you very much. Have been very involved with this issue here in the city, as well as a working group through the Climate Protection Campaign. I have very serious concerns, particularly when it comes to the over 60 truck trips per day that are leaving this county and the effect that it has on greenhouse gas emissions. I think that we need to look at a local scenario and a local option, and I would be open to opening up the landfill, but I do think that there are questions that still need to be answered. I was very frustrated as a city council member with the lack of transparency that this board moved forward with what was going to be the operator of Republic. For 24 months, the board met in closed session and then presented the plan to the cities and said, hey, you're going to come along with us. And that is the exact opposite way that I operate. We need to be able to bring those stakeholders into the process early on. And in fact, I am very supportive of the new commission that has been formed so that cities actually do have a say in waste. Rather than being stuck with the bill and the lack of planning on the county's part when it comes to reserves for the landfill, now cities are going to be able to have a say in the very beginning when it comes to diversion. And I'm very proud of the fact that I have focused in on diversion for our city. And that is when it comes to food waste, which is 30% of the waste stream, and recycling of plastic bags, as we all know, is a critical issue across this country and our world.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Debra.
Okay, thank you. I've been very involved in this issue as well, and I will say, to be fair to my opponent, that he and I both spoke up at the Board of Supervisors hearings on multiple occasions to tell the county that we didn't want them to sell the landfill, that we wanted them to consider other options. And so we both did that. However, I am the only candidate here who stepped up during my time of campaigning. I can't believe I did this. I signed up to be on the formal waste advisory group for the Sonoma County Water Agency. There's one member from each city, as well as two supervisors on this group, and it's called WAG, and it's sort of a wag the dog. We make a joke about it that we're, now after the fact, we're wagging the tail of the dog. But I am supportive of opening up the landfill, at least continuing that investigation. I'm heavily involved in all those discussions because I am on the waste advisory group as a member of Windsor. I don't want to see the trash trucked out of here anymore. There is a big impact on the roads as well as greenhouse gases. I think what we could do up there is open up the landfill to, there's a lot of choices and decisions going on right now, but we could open up a portion of it, we could close a portion of it, and what we really need up there is a MRF, either a dirty MRF or a clean MRF, and that's a materials recycling facility. and we need to figure out right now what size that would be so that we're actually not even landfilling when we open up the landfill, but we're really taking all the waste we can out of that gray can and recycling even more of it, and that's what I support. And I also support looking into an alternative energy plant at the landfill.
Thank you, Debra. Our fourth question, that's a prepared question, will go to Debra first. What should the role of Sonoma County law enforcement in matters of what should be the role of Sonoma County law enforcement in matters of immigration and homeland security?
That's a big question. I went to the immigration reform rally, and it was interesting to see, thousands of people there concerned about their futures. And I actually spoke in Spanish, and I didn't know if I could remember all of my high school Spanish, but I spoke my whole speech in Spanish, and that was a good exercise for me. I think that we need to, I'm in favor of working with the sheriff, and I actually was concerned about the comments that were going on with the ICE and the fingerprinting and the things that were in the newspaper a few months ago, and I called the sheriff and said, so what's going on? And there was a little bit of a different opinion going on, that what you can't always believe everything you read in the newspaper, so it was sort of, on both sides of the fence. But I believe that we need to make sure that we're not separating families. We need to make sure that we are not arresting people for no just cause. I don't think we should be impounding cars for lack of a license. There are other things that we need to work with people to be able to get licenses. And I just feel that the strong-arm tactics aren't going to work here. We need to figure out how we can solve this immigration reform issue locally as well as what's going on nationally. And I'd like to work with the sheriff cooperatively to ensure that that happens and that we don't have a lot of hurt going on with families and separation and poor treatment of people and profiling.
Thank you, Debra. Michael.
Thank you, ma'am. I have serious concerns in regards to the cooperation with ICE. This county, number one industry is agriculture. It's a $2.8 billion industry. We must look at immigration reform in this country. And I do believe that we can be on the epicenter of that in this county. I think rather than penalizing individuals just because of the color of their skin, we need to be able to bring all folks into the fold to have a discussion with our county leaders and our leaders of law enforcement. As a member of the Healdsburg City Council, I was very concerned with this and in fact co-chaired the committee that brought the First Day Labor Center to our county. We are working on a potential project that would look at the first publicly funded farm worker housing development in the city of Healdsburg and in the county of Sonoma. We have to be realistic when it comes to our choices of immigration reform. And the reason we need to be realistic is because we have to bring dignity to the hiring process. We need to ensure that we have a skilled labor force. And the fact is, the vast majority of all of us in this room will not do the work that the laborers are doing on a daily basis here in the county of Sonoma. And what we need to do is work together to be able to develop a comprehensive immigration reform with the feds and starting with the message here locally.
Thank you, Michael. I have one more question, and I'm going to ask you to respond to this question first this time.
Okay.
Important changes were made in the new general plan for agricultural zoning to support farmers near urban areas. These changes have not been implemented with an ordinance as is required by state law. What would you do to get an ordinance implemented?
I have some really serious concerns in regards to the threats of agriculture in this county. There's a few items. One, community separators is what you've just discussed. We need to ensure that community separators, particularly through our municipalities, whether it be Healdsburg and Windsor, whether it be Rona Park and Santa Rosa, are formally recognized. And that is a project that I would absolutely tackle. I think the other piece with this is that we have to be able to bring our environmental community and our agricultural community together to start talking about these issues. And in fact, the Open Space District has been focusing in on community separators in the county of Sonoma. And that is why I think that this next Board of Supervisors, and particularly this representative in the 4th District, is going to have to be the voice of agriculture to ensure that ag and our environmental interests are met. And it makes good planning sense to protect those community separators. And in addition, we also have to talk about the Williamson Act. The Williamson Act was repealed by the governor, and it helps protect those lands that are threatened by future development. And that is something else that this Board of Supervisors has to be absolutely on top of, and ensuring that our elected state leaders are moving forward with bringing back that policy, because our family farmers are threatened in the county of Sonoma.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Debra.
Thank you. I'm not sure that last question was really answered, so I'll try to answer it exactly. Their general plan is, the ink's been dry for a couple of years now, and there are lots of ordinances that haven't been implemented because there isn't the time or the funding at the PRMD right now, and they're about to lay off a few more people. I heard there were about 7 more people that might be laid off. And so it's very important that now we've got to figure out within the general plan, and it might even be within other areas besides this AR zoning, where there are ordinances that need to be implemented so that we're actually following the general plan as closely as we can. So I would say we go into that department and we ask the head of PRMD to look at which ordinances would cause, which if they were implemented, that would do the most good for protecting agriculture in this instance from urban areas and vice versa. And we take we prioritize them, and the ones that would make the most difference and do the most good, so that we can make sure that we've got family farms surrounding all of our cities, which is a big goal of mine, then we start implementing those one by one. Even if we don't have the money to go after all of them, we start prioritizing and do them one by one. I would love to see tiara vegetables, more of tiara vegetables, just multiply throughout the whole county in the separators, but even on the edges of all of the cities and towns. And that's another goal of mine. I'd love the food to be grown locally so that we can eat locally healthy grown food and not have to have the transportation costs and greenhouse gases to receive it.
Thank you, Debra. Well, now some questions from the audience. And we're going to have Debra respond to this one first.
I didn't see you get the questions up here. They snuck behind me, huh?
I know. I've got many questions here.
Uh-oh. Okay.
If you could look into the future 10 years, what would you like to see for Healdsburg?
For Healdsburg?
That's the question.
Okay. Okay, I could tell you for Windsor. That's interesting. For Healdsburg, I would like to see all those new hotels filled. I would love to see tourists coming up on the train, on the SMART train. I want them to stop in Windsor, but it's okay if they stop in Healdsburg. And I was telling someone in Cloverdale the other day, what I anticipate is we've got the SMART train coming up from the Bay Area. We've got lots of bicyclists coming up and doing bicycle trips up here. I see them coming up, and we've got a car planned for them so they can put all their bicycles on the train, 40 at a time. And I said, I want them to go all the way to Cloverdale and stop in those bed and breakfasts and sort of make a 3-day trip out of it. Stop in Healdsburg or stop in Windsor. You know, visit our restaurants and our hotels and our businesses, and just really, you know, come up from the Bay Area and really learn to enjoy the North County. So that's the first thing that came into my mind. I would like to see Healdsburg prosper, just as I would want Windsor and all the other cities to prosper.
Thank you, Debra. Michael.
Thank you very much. There's a very important project that the council is currently dealing with here in the city of Healdsburg, and that is our special study area in our south entrance of town. Healdsburg has really transitioned over the last 10 years. And in the next 10 years, we need to focus upon residential living within the downtown core and expanding those opportunities for working families. I think that we also need to start taking a look at how we are going to be connecting our new development with transit. So we're going to be breaking ground actually this summer on a $2 million rehab of our SMART train station. Within the next 10 years, I'd like to be able to see the Foss Creek Trail completely completed from north to south in this community. And in fact, it would be the first community that would have a pedestrian trail that would go from one end to the other. In addition, I think that we need to continue focusing on services for locals. We have opened up our first community center. We have opened up new parks. And we have created economic development interests through partnerships with business. And that is what we need to continue with. So for example, when our lodging coalition puts up $250,000 to help promote their properties and the brand of Healdsburg, the city matches it. And for that $250,000 investment, $1.1 million comes back in bed tax revenue that serves vital services, park and rec, and police and fire. And we need to continue to expand on those local revenue sources to protect our vital services in this community.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
I think this is our third question, and you're first.
Watch out.
Watch out. Which one shall I ask?
I'll help you pick.
How proactive do you think the Board of Supervisors should be in repairing our much neglected rural roads?
Yes. My goodness. Well, watch out here, huh? Look, we have a tremendous funding issue in the county of Sonoma when it comes to our rural roads. If you drive West Dry Creek Road, you would know, as I have lost a dog and a bike in that pothole right in the middle there. But in all seriousness, look, I grew up out in the country. My family farmed the Alexander Valley for 50 years, and very familiar with the issues, particularly when it comes to infrastructure. This county has a tremendous issue when it comes to infrastructure. As Deb had mentioned, we are facing a tremendous financial crisis, which has meant Public Works, who is charged to take care of those roads, frankly has not been doing a good job because they no longer have the resources, let alone the personnel, to be able to deal with the problems that continue to come forward. So there are a couple of options. One, we continue with the status quo, or two, and I don't think that is appropriate, or two, we need to have a discussion about long-term funding options. So there's two ways to deal with that. One, additional revenue source, or two, reallocation of the general fund. But right now what we have are law enforcement and health and human services and open space and parks that are also clamoring for those dollars. So what I think the Board of Supervisors needs to be able to do to start addressing that issue is having a discussion in the budget process about creating a strategic plan of the next 5 to 10 years of road maintenance in the county of Sonoma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Debra.
Okay. As a bicyclist, I don't know. I think West Side Road might be worse than West Dry Creek Road. There are places on West Side, a little bit of it was redone, where you actually, when you get close to a bridge, there's a gap between the pavement and the cement bridge, and you can't sit on your bicycle seat to go over it. You actually have to stand up because it's such a big gap. And I'm always worried my tires are going to go in and I'm going to fall over like I would be on a railroad track. What we do in Windsor is we have, and it's, I think we changed the name because we didn't like what the initials stood for, PMS. It's Pavement Management System, and we did change the name. I just can't tell you what it was because this one sticks in my head. But we actually survey all the roads in Windsor, and then we strategize which ones we work on. And what we do in Windsor is we've got a lot of roads, not a lot, we have some in bad shape. What we do is we resurface the ones that are in fair shape to keep them in better shape so that we're not having to reconstruct roads in the future. So you really need to think about which roads you need to, keep in good shape until you have the money to go back and reconstruct the others. You don't want them all to not be resurfaced so that they all have to be reconstructed. That costs more in the long term, and that's why I would agree that you need a strategic plan and really lay out. Maybe they've done that, I don't know. It doesn't, and it may not look like it, but and then you strategize which ones that will, so that you're not wasting and spending more money in the future than you would have otherwise.
Thank you, Debra. This question will go now first to you. We're seeing growth of casinos in Sonoma County. River Rock, now Rohnert Park, Cloverdale, another Alexander Valley. What is your position?
No more casinos. We're actually looking at outside Windsor. We have the Lytton Pomos they're buying, I think they've bought 130 acres so far. They say it's for housing, we're not sure. They've bought more acreage than they need for the housing for their tribe. So we're trying to work cooperatively with them and with the county to really determine what their needs are and what they're actually going to do. And we're not in favor of a casino at all. What I've done is meet with, in terms of the River Rock, I've met with the tribal leader a couple of times. And even though that casino is built, I've tried to mitigate the impacts of that casino. Since I had an opportunity to talk with him, I started talking to him about the parking garage, and I said, you've got those lights on all night. It looks like an alien spaceship landed on the mountain, especially when you're driving south. And it's a waste of energy, it's increasing your greenhouse gas emissions. I said, is there any way you can either turn the lights off in the garage or shade them, and have people park on certain levels? And I talked to him about all kinds of other things that he could do to mitigate the impact of what already exists. But I'm definitely not in favor of adding any more casinos to this area.
Thank you, Debra. Michael.
Thank you, ma'am. There are two very specific proposals in the 4th District that are facing all of us of proposed new casinos. One is up in Cloverdale. 2 is on West Soda Rock Lane in the Alexander Valley. My family were right across the river on East Soda Rock Lane, and that's where we farmed. I do not support, nor will I ever support, any expansion casinos in this county. I think it is the wrong way to go, quite frankly, when it comes to job creation and to the problems that casinos will bring to the county of Sonoma. And particularly in lean budget times, I think that it is the wrong approach to be able to bring in services that are going to cost all of us money long term. And so I do not support any expansion of casinos, and I am very concerned about the proposed project that has been discussed out on West Soda Rock, as well as on the outskirts, southern boundary of the city of Cloverdale.
Thank you. All right, number 4 question,
Yes,
which will come to you, Michael. If selected supervisor, would you allow more gravel mining along the Russian River?
Well, that's a very easy answer, no. I think that...
I'm sure you have more to say.
How did you guess? My goodness.
I got that.
That's right. I think Deb and I are very similar when it comes to this issue. Do not support any type of expansion of the ARM plan. I think the majority of the board that moved forward with the continued expansion of the ARM plan was wrong. You will never see me supporting any expansion of the ARM plan in this county. I think specifically there is going to be a proposal that's going to be coming forward to the Board of Supervisors in regards to skimming in the Russian River. I do not support that, with one exception. We need to address the public safety issues in Geyserville. The bridge that was put there at all of our expense is failing. And it is imperative that our next supervisor brings together the environmental community along with the growers, both of which I've already met with, representatives from the Russian Riverkeeper Organization and neighbors that are around the Dry Creek Bridge, to deal with this issue. Because if we do not, it will be a disaster for those residents who are living in Alexander Valley, Geyserville, and for our economy. But I do not support any additional gravel mining.
Thank you. Debra.
I don't support any additional gravel mining as well, and I did go speak to the Board of Supervisors multiple times when they were considering increasing the extension for the Aggregated Resource Management Plan. The gravel mining has done a great deal of damage to our rivers and our creeks, and if now that the biological opinion work is being done on Dry Creek and Grape Creek, there are slides that we've been shown that show what the creeks look like before gravel mining and what they look like after. And it's amazing to see the difference in the way that the creeks meandered, what was on the banks. I mean, it changes everything. The water becomes more fast and wears off the banks, and it just causes all kinds of problems. And that's one of the reasons that we're paying so much money right now that we're required to implement the biological opinion and to fix those creeks, because we have to restore them, and we should, to more natural conditions so that the fish can live there as well. But most of this was caused by gravel mining. I've been to Washington, D.C. 3 times to lobby for money from the federal government so that we could actually get funding to pay for this biological opinion. And so it's something that I've really spent a great deal of time on. I don't think I'm convinced that I would allow skimming, but I would get the same groups of people together, scientists, the Russian River Keeper, landowners and everybody else, because that's what I do. I'm collaborative all the time, and I get people together to try to solve a problem. And I would, before any skimming were allowed, I would need to be convinced that that was the best thing to do for that bridge, and right now I'm not convinced.
Thank you, Debra. I will address the fifth question for your response first.
Okay.
Sonoma County is one of the few counties in California that does not put county money into mental health services. What would you do?
So we are one of the few counties that don't put money into county mental health services? Is that the question?
That's the question.
Okay. Right now, with the $61 million budget deficit, there isn't a lot of choice we have in terms of adding money into any new programs. But as our budget and our economy in the local Sonoma County area gets more back on track, that's something I would look into. And it may not necessarily be directly into the county budget, but it would be working with other agencies to ensure that we have enough mental health services that are really supporting the people that need it. I think of, I don't want to mention any names, but I think of the young man who was very ill and was killed recently in another city. And there are many people out there that need a lot of help that aren't getting it now. And so that is on my radar, and I would try to figure out a way to provide them services they need, whether we partner with the state, whether we get federal funding, whether it's at some point county money where we can try to solve that problem. But I'm aware of the damage that can be done not only to families but our society as a whole by people who need mental health help. And I would try to do that, try to help them.
Thank you, Debra. Michael.
Thank you. This is a tremendous issue for the County of Sonoma right now and for law enforcement. Supervisor Zane has recently introduced, and actually a study is now being funded in regards to law enforcement response and mental health patients. We have seen too many tragedies in this county and across this country when it comes to response with individuals that may have issues with their mental health. When I met with Sheriff Cogbill a few months ago, deputies have now going through mental health training, which is very important. The city of San Antonio in Texas, of all places, actually has a very progressive policy when it comes to a mental health response team from local police officers that are dedicated to responding to mental health emergencies. And I actually think that is something that this county should explore in the years to come. Our budget is really bad right now, and that $61 million will soon go to $70 to $75 million. But I think we have to make a priority of ensuring that those that have mental health disease and bringing together law enforcement in a collaborative approach to deal with this growing issue in our society.
Thank you. Number 6 question. Pensions and administrative salaries are creating an unsustainable burden on our county budget. How will you address this in a recession?
Well, in fact, this previous board has taken the action just last year in regards to the reduction of benefits for both active and retirees. This is going to be a savings for the county, but I got to be honest, I am concerned, and particularly for those 30% of county employees that are retired that make less than $2,000 a month. When we move forward with a deal with employees, both in my place of employment and or in government, and the individual retires, you have to follow through with that deal, particularly when it comes to that 30%. So as a member of the Board of Supervisors, I would actually go back and address that issue with those 30% that are making $2,000 or less a month. When it comes to the issue of pensions, it is actually an issue that is being discussed at the statewide level And I know that the League of Cities and CSAC, which is the county governmental organization, is also studying the issue as well.
Thank you. Debra.
When we just now started talking about health care and the benefits that were promised to retirees, I'm having flashbacks of pictures of people that I've talked to as I've been walking precincts. I thought of a man that had worked, he's still working right now for the county. He has 32 years and he's working in the road department. And he and his wife doesn't work for the county, and he will now be cut down back to, he's about ready to retire in a couple of years, and he will now be having to, his health care will be capped at $500 per family per year, per month. And that's going to be an extreme hardship for him. He needs to support his wife. He went and he worked for the county for 32 years. He will be there 34 years by the time he retires. And he counted on certain benefits and planned his retirement income, and now he won't have that. He'll be paying another $800, $900 a month for health care out of his own pocket that he didn't plan on. And then I've run into a lot of actual people, employees that have already retired, and they're in the same situation. I have parents, one set has a really good health plan, health care plan, and the other one doesn't. And the difference in their lifestyles is pretty amazing. And the one without, that pays for their own health care totally on their own because they were self-employed, have a lesser quality of life. And I understand the differences that it can mean for people on retired incomes or set incomes. And I would definitely go back. I agree with Mike on this. I would go back and relook at those, not only the ones that have retired, but the ones that into their 25th, 26th year of employment, and they don't have time to go back and readjust their spending plans, savings plans.
Thank you, Debra. Number 7th question, and Debra, you will answer this one first. What is your involvement with the Russian River cleanup since its inception almost 20 years ago?
Oh, that must be meant for me. This is the 21st year of the Russian River cleanup. I was involved on the second year of its initiation. When I got involved, and there were people from the Sequoia Paddling Club that were actually cleaning up the river. And that first year, there were 35 people cleaning the river from, I think, Alexander Valley down to Memorial Bridge. And being a PG&E employee and knowing that PG&E would support that, I said, what if I brought resources? What if I brought in employees? What if I, did emails and got some people here and some sponsorships, and we did T-shirts and we had a barbecue. And before you know it, 20 years later, there are 5 of us still organizing this Russian River cleanup. It has grown over the years to 450 people. We clean up the river every September on the 3rd Saturday in September. Every single year, we out of that one day, we clean the river from Cloverdale all the way to Guerneville, and we take out 14,000 pounds of trash and debris from that river, and that would be accumulating year after year if we didn't go do that. We have, so it's been really, every year we think we should retire some of us, get new blood, but nobody steps up to do it, and every year we can't let a September go by knowing that there's 200 tires and 14,000 pounds of trash, snow skis, chandeliers, the things we take out of that river, you'd be amazed. And so I've been very pleased to have been involved in that, and it's because I love this area and I love the river so much that I do that.
Thank you, Debra. Michael.
Thank you. I want to first say thanks to Deb for all of her hard work with the Russian River cleanup. She has been very diligent in that issue, and do thank you for that. And I've been happy to participate. And I've also been happy to co-found the Foss Creek cleanup here in Healdsburg. It is a threatened creek. And have taken great pain to ensure that we are going to restore Foss Creek along with the Healdsburg branch of the Russian River. So not only have we brought people together, service clubs, school kids, young and old alike, to be able to clean up Foss Creek, but we've actually amended our general plan to ensure that all new development faces the creek. We're expanding our bike and pedestrian trail, so that you're going to be able to go up and down that corridor, and that will connect to the Russian River. And was the lead organizer in raising over $100,000 to start the creek restoration right on the Purity Chemical site, right behind Hotel Healdsburg. This is an issue that we need to continue with. And I think both Deb and I are very concerned in regards to the fisheries, the Russian River corridor, and water quality for future generations.
Thank you, Michael. Our next question will be answered by you first.
All right.
What is your position on commercial service at the Sonoma County Airport?
You want to talk about the river again? Hey, there we go. No, it's a really good question. Look, I am very happy that Horizon is here. I think Horizon has been a boon for our local economy. If you take a look at the success that Horizon has had, both for their end and on the end of the County of Sonoma, it can't be matched. That said, I would be open to taking a look at expansion, but only at a time when service is ready to go. In this down economy, it is very difficult for not just the airline industry, but for the County of Sonoma to move forward with a runway expansion when we have so many additional pressing needs. What I'd like to be able to do as a member of the Board of Supervisors is continue supporting Horizon flying in and out of Sonoma County, and in fact, looking at additional routes. That said, I think it's going to be very important that the next supervisor is going to be open to everyone that may have concerns. That's something I've worked with here in Healdsburg in regards to flight path approaches, and I know that is something also that Deb has worked on as well. But I think before we look at additional expansion, I think that we need to be able to show the numbers and then also have the money there to be able to move forward with it, as they're currently going through the environmental impact report process right now.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Debra.
Living in Windsor, I'm very familiar with the airport, and every single pilot that flies, how do you call it, left to land, because they all turn over my house. And I can see the eyeballs of the pilots from Horizon when they fly over my house. And so I wave at them. But you know what? Those Horizon planes are really quiet. It's the noisy one that comes up from Mexico that drives everybody in Windsor nuts. I am in favor of, I love Horizon. I'm really glad they're here. They need better times. It's really, to leave at 6 in the morning to try to transfer to other flights is, sometimes it doesn't work out, and a lot of us still end up driving to Oakland and San Francisco, which is really too bad. In terms of collaborating and getting people together, I have a great example of, in this case, where there were residents in northwest Santa Rosa and Windsor who were concerned about the noise, and there were a couple of bad apples that were flying over Windsor and causing Windsor residents to start to complain about noise. And I tried, knowing that the airport might expand, I tried to head off the problem by inviting the FAA up to Windsor with Congressman Thompson's office, with residents, with town staff, and with the airport manager to try to figure out how we could solve the problem, start to educate the pilots, and ask them to actually fly right over Windsor at nighttime, and so that they wouldn't be flying directly over all the houses, but they could actually fly a different pattern so that they wouldn't impact us every single time. The first meeting went really rough. We had another meeting, and it went a little bit better. And it was interesting that the tower people we dealt with up here are actually the tower people that run the San Francisco airport as well.
Thank you, Debra. Number 9, question from the audience. I'll ask you to address this question first, Debra. What is your position on private ownership of water wells?
Okay. The people that live in rural areas have private ownership of water wells. I'm not sure where the question's going. I grew up, in my high school years, I grew up on a 100-acre farm in rural Santa Cruz, and I understand wells that are shallow, that don't perform well, that have so much rust that you can't do laundry, that you have to go into town. I mean, it was a real learning experience to live out there like that, and I loved it, actually. Somebody might be trying to get at monitoring. I'm not sure where the question was going, but, there are permits for wells that are required. I'd like to make sure that everybody, that has a well has a permit, that there's no illegal diversions coming out of the Russian River. If they need water, then they need to have a permit for that as well. So I guess I'm not really sure.
That's all the question
That's all they
asked.
said. Okay, so if I missed it, I'm sorry. If you'd like to talk to me after the fact and get my answer in more full detail, then
Thank
I'll
you, Debra.
stand outside.
Michael?
Could you repeat the question one more time?
I'm glad it wasn't
Yes.
just me.
There you go.
If I can find it. What is your position on private ownership of water wells?
Thank you. So this is a bigger issue for the county of Sonoma in regards to talking about what is going to be our water management plan. So there's been a lot of discussion in regards to mandatory versus voluntary well monitoring in the county of Sonoma. And in fact, where folks come from on the agricultural side is that, and I think we all know this, water rights means property value. And something that has been launched in the Sonoma Valley has been an order of consensus of working with individuals that own ag land to voluntarily take a look at well monitoring. But I think it gets to the point that was asked earlier in a question about the Sonoma County Water Agency. I think folks that need to feel comfortable about the monitoring of their wells. I have publicly said I do not support mandatory well monitoring, but I do believe that we need to work with our agricultural partners and our local farmers on a voluntary approach. And in fact, the water agency also needs to move forward with ensuring that illegal diversions are capped. We are a decade away from the federal government in coming in and regulating the Russian River water system. And this is going to be one of the major priorities for the supervisor who sits in the 4th District seat of developing a water management plan that will provide water security for ag, our environment, our cities, as well as recreation.
Thank you. I'm going to use a couple of more questions from the audience, and then I'll have a wrap-up question.
All right.
And you will answer this one first, Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
What can you do as county supervisor to help the schools with their financial crisis?
There has been a lot of discussion about education in our state. The state has cut $18 billion in education over the last 24 months. And in fact, I think our public education system is in crisis. And I think it is all of our responsibilities to ensure that our kids have the tools they need to thrive. So for example, I have released an education plan for the county of Sonoma. Some may say that the Board of Supervisors doesn't have any purview over education. Well, I don't really see it like that. I think it's up to all of us to ensure the success of our kids and our schools. So in my plan, I think that the Board of Supervisors needs to move forward with bringing business stakeholders and educational leaders together to relaunch job and technical skill programs in our high schools. Something very similar that Ray Hawley has done through CASA, our Green Building Academy that will be launched next year at Healdsburg High School. I also think that we need to move forward with additional safe routes to schools, and in fact, as a member of the Sonoma County Transportation Authority, we just were granted $1 million from the feds to move forward with safe routes to schools. And I also think we need to look at consolidation when it comes to services. So like purchasing and or redundant duties, like what we've done in Healdsburg. We've taken $250,000 and taken over the field maintenance for our schools. They have now been able to put that back into the classroom.
Thank you, Michael. Same question to you, Debra.
Okay, thank you. I think Mike was referring to a comment I made at a forum we had on last Monday where I said the school superintendent was wondering why he was talking about schools so much. Wasn't that his job? So that's where that came from. I think that I will do what I've done like I've done in Windsor, and like all of us in the Windsor Town Council have done, and we've implemented a lot of joint use agreements with schools. We've actually planned our parks near schools so that they didn't have to build some fields and ball fields where if we could never build a pool in Windsor, you know, that's something else that we're trying to do next to a high school to save them that cost. In terms of safe routes to school, there are a lot of rural schools that where actually the county could go in and create these safe routes and help provide the infrastructure on the way to the school so that the school district didn't have to pay for that. And that would be a way to offset that as long as the county were going to do those roads anyway. That would make a lot of sense. Every year I do the rock and roll to school. with the kids in the Windsor schools, and we do bicycle trains and walking trains to school, and I sure wish I could help them do that more often so that they could get to school in a healthy manner and not have to drive, have their parents drive them and use greenhouse gases to get them to school, and if they got there on their own power, they would be more healthy. I would work closely, like I have, with the Windsor WISE program, which is an environmentally sustainable educational core program through Windsor High, and as a personal goal, I would still continue to work with them. And what we do in Windsor is we give them free garbage pickup and free e-waste pickup through our garbage contracts, and so that's another way that you can help schools.
Thank you, Debra. Okay, last audience question. And you will answer first this time, Debra.
I'm always surprised when you say that. Okay.
Your policies seem so familiar. What are the main differences between you and your opponent?
That's a good last question. There are a lot of similarities, but I would say their main difference is experience. I have a record. It's there for all to see. I've been involved in Windsor for the last 16 years, 2 years as a planning commissioner, 14 years as a town council member. I was actually asked to run for supervisor in 2002, and I didn't do it because I had a commitment to Windsor to finish the downtown. And I knew if I left, there were some pieces that were loose that might not have been tied up neatly, and we might not have been able to complete the whole downtown. So when I make a commitment, I stick to it. I've got a great deal of experience, not only 25 years at PG&E in a corporation, good or bad, you learn a lot. I'm chair of the SMART Train. I'm working with a 12-member board. I thought 5 people were hard, 12 is even harder. I'm on the Water Advisory Committee, so I've got water experience, transportation experience, land use experience. I was an environmental planner. I worked actually in Governor Jerry Brown's Office of Planning and Research doing CEQA work in the early 80s. My background and experience, I feel like my whole life has led to this. That's why I'm running again. I've got all this experience and background that I just know it's a perfect fit for Sonoma County right now. And I think the difference between us mostly is experience, and I'm ready to hit the ground running with all of my background and experience and education and my passion for the job.
Thank you, Debra. Michael.
Thank you very much. I think there are 4 core areas of difference, and I think both Deb and I are very similar when it comes to our environmental background and our passion for the environment. But I think the differences are our ability to work together with diverging, different opinions. If you take a look at the folks that are supporting our campaign, it is a broad coalition of business, labor, agricultural, and environmental leaders. And now, more than ever, in this county, in our state, in our country, we need folks that will be able to push aside the partisanship and start talking about partnership. And this is what this county needs now more than ever. And we need an individual that has the experience to do that. And I do. Nearly a decade worth of experience in public service. And I'm a small business person and understand the need for fiscal responsibility when it comes to our county. I have the ability to balance tough budgets, but then still work with folks on the other end of that tough budget. That is why we have the endorsement of local teachers as well. I think the other piece is work ethic. I pride myself being the hardest working person in the room. My grandma helped raise me. And one thing that she said, and she taught me, is you never stop working. I have a reputation of that in this community, as a member of the Sonoma County Transportation Authority, as a member of the Regional Climate Protection Authority, and I will have that as a member of the Board of Supervisors if you elect me on June 8th.
Thank you, Michael. Well, thank you, audience, for all of those interesting questions. I have one last wrap-up question before we hear closing statements from the candidates. And that is, what is your top priority on the use of open space district funds within Sonoma County? And Michael, you will answer first for this question.
Thank you very much. Top priority is focusing in on partnerships with our communities. Now more than ever, our communities are struggling to be able to fund park and recreation opportunities for their residents. And as a member of the Healdsburg City Council, been able to secure, along with my colleagues, over $750,000 in open space revenue to help redevelop Georgie Park. We need to focus open space district funds on the most threatened lands, such as our community separators and our ridge lines. And I want to focus our open space district funds on those lands that are closest to our largest communities. It's about public access. It's ensuring that our kids have the ability to experience Sonoma County as we all have growing up here and living here in the future. And I think that the Board of Supervisors have an opportunity to be able to redirect those funds to protect those lands that are most vulnerable to development, and to help our cities continue advancing forward in this greatest recession since the Great Depression. So as a member of the Board of Supervisors, I would focus those open space district funds on partnerships with our communities, threatened ag lands, and those lands that are in open space that are most threatened by development.
Thank you, Michael. Debra.
I would agree with Mike on a lot of this. I think the community separators are the most important area where I would focus that money. I grew up in the Santa Clara Valley before I went to Santa Cruz when I was a smaller child, and I watched those cities grow into each other. And that's one of the reasons I became an urban planner, was so that I could prevent that from happening anywhere else I went. The other reason I became an environmental planner was so that I could protect ag and rural lands. But I have this mental picture of watching those cities grow together. When I came up here and saw that there were some community separators around Sonoma County and around all the cities, I was very glad. But when you start looking at the maps, they're like, we call them little amoebas. They're not really connected at all. I have been on a committee of a collaborative working group of people that include Greenbelt Alliance, Sonoma County Conservation Action. I'm thinking of all the people in the room, the Accountable Development Coalition, all kinds of people for the last number of years, 2 years, trying to figure out how we can work with the county, taking the ag and open space district money, and also taking the expertise of the planning staff from not only the county but also cities, to make sure that we can start to, encircle and protect and get the land that will actually encircle these cities forever. And I'd love to see, and ridgelines as well, but I'd love to see food grown in all those separators. We are going to need more locally grown food. It's more healthy for us. It would provide an income so that people could farm locally. We could lease the land for almost nothing like we do to tier vegetables, and it would really benefit all of us, and that would be one of my priorities.
Thank you, Debra. So now, each candidate will take up to 2 minutes for closing remarks. So I'll start with you first this time, Michael.
Thank you very much. Ellen, thank you for all your hard work tonight.
You're welcome.
And it has been an honor to be here, and I want to thank all of you for coming out. And again, thank the League of Women Voters and AAUW for their incredible hard work of putting together this very important forum. We are facing unprecedented challenges in the county of Sonoma. This county has looked at over $100 million deficit in 3 years. We need leaders now more than ever that can work with all sides of an issue. My background and my family's background in agriculture is going to be absolutely key so that we can get our agricultural farmers talking with our environmental leaders about water and about how to advance forward to protect our family farmers. We are going to need to focus on jobs. I am the only one in this race that has released a jobs plan to get working families back to work. And I put real goals onto this so that I have the ability to come to all of you in 4 years, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, and say, look what I have done, and judge me on my accomplishments. In addition, we need leaders that have the ability to make tough choices, but still able to work with folks on the other side of those tough choices and bringing them into the fold. And now more than ever in this county, we need collaboration. We need collaboration with our administrators, we need collaboration with our employees, and we need collaboration with the board. And change starts at the top. I would be honored to have your support in this race. You will not find someone that will work harder for all of you and for your kids. I encourage you to go to MikeForSupervisor.com, check out our jobs plan. Check out our plan for education and how this county needs to work together with our local schools to ensure upstream investment. And I appreciate you listening to all of us here this evening.
Thank you, Michael. Debra.
Sonoma County is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Everyone in this room would agree with me that we need a supervisor with a proven ability to protect the quality and quantity of our water and our unique agricultural heritage, and a leader who can create a thriving business environment while protecting the incredible quality of life that brings visitors here from all over the world. For the past 16 years, residents in this district have struggled to get their voices heard, and there have been millions of taxpayer dollars wasted on inadequate environmental impact reports and too many instances where neighbors had to sue just to uphold our county laws. This is wrong. This is the result of entrenched special interests. I have discussed my life's work and how that experience has informed every successful decision I've made as four-time mayor of Windsor, council member, county water policy advisor, and SMART chair. With my skill set on the board, we will start working together to plan and encourage the projects that fit with our common vision, and we can stop wasting time and money fighting the ones that damage our quality of life. In the past few weeks in the district, I have personally witnessed the new uptick in job loss and home foreclosures. Job growth and protecting our quality of life are not mutually exclusive. With my years of experience as a sound environmental planner and ardent fiscal conservative, we will turn this county around. And very importantly, once you elect me, I will stay on the job. I will not be spending the time I should be working for you running for higher office. Believe me, in these tough economic times, you want your supervisor focused 100% on Sonoma County. This is a critical time. You have the opportunity to vote for an experienced executive. I have a proven track record in bringing diverse groups together over and over again and helping them move forward for long-term solutions that everyone can live with. I get results. Witness Windsor's downtown and town green. That was not an easy thing to pull off. About the differences that my opponent talks about, I really take exception to the fact that he's inferring that I'm partisan and that I don't have a strong work ethic. My work ethic is second to none, and I am definitely not partisan, and I've got a proven track record of collaboration over all these years. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope you can make your decisions, and we appreciate your being here.
Thank you, Debra. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the American Association of University Women of Healdsburg, I want to thank candidates Debra Fudge and Mike McGuire not only for their participation in this forum, but also for their time and effort to serve the people of Sonoma County. I also want to thank the audience for attending this forum to become better informed. This forum will be played back on Channel 26 in the North County and posted online by myhbg.tv. Will also be broadcast by KRCB at 8 a.m. Sunday morning, May 23rd. And there are handouts in the lobby with information about rebroadcasts. You can also go to lwvsonoma.org for information on rebroadcasts of this forum and on other forums, and you can go to smartvoter.org for your complete ballot, including ballot measures. The last day to register to vote in the June election is May 24th, and please remember to vote on June 8th. So I would like a last round of applause for our candidates. This concludes tonight's forum. Thank you for coming, and have a safe journey home. Good night.